Okay, welcome back. Yesterday we were discussing the stereoelectronic parameters for SN2 reactions and vis-a-vis SN1 reactions. We have seen that in SN2 reactions the nucleophile should approach in a linear fashion to the CX axis, X being the leaving group, and it should come from the back side. Okay. The reason for that that it gives the maximum possible stable transition state, because the overlap when it comes from the back side, the overlap of the orbitals of the incoming nucleophile and the orbital that the carbon is having, that gives the maximum overlap when it approaches along the CX axis. Okay. Then so basically in SN2 reactions there will be inversion which is called Walden inversion of configuration. Again I repeat, this inversion does not mean R going to S or S going to R. That may happen, that may not happen, or it does not mean also plus going to minus rotation or minus rotation going to plus rotation. That may happen, that may not happen. It all depends on the nature of substituents and the priority of the substituents. Okay. So, we have seen that there are cases which go by SN2 reactions. There are cases where double inversion can occur. Double inversion means double SN2 reactions can occur. Okay. And these are called, these take place when there is anchimeric assistance from the neighboring nucleophile within the molecule. So, intramolecular, it is an intramolecular attack by a neighboring nucleophile. So, one example we have seen is the case of hydrolysis of alpha bromo or 2-bromo propionate. Okay. 2-bromo propionate, we have seen that the carboxylate in dilute sodium hydroxide, the carboxylate is formed and the OH minus being less in number. So, before the OH minus attacks this carbon from the back side, it is the carboxylate which attacks from the back side and the Br leaves. So, that is one inversion, and then the OH minus comes and opens up the alpha lactone. This is a very strained molecule. So, it also wants to open up, and that is assisted, the opening is assisted by the nucleophilic attack by OH minus from the back side of this CO bond. So, basically another inversion takes place. So, there are two SN2 reactions and the overall it leads to retention of configuration. What is this retention? That means the Br was occupying a place which now the OH minus is placed, the OH is placed. Okay. So, that is retention of configuration. Now, we have also seen that we have to be careful that always neighboring group participation does not lead to retention of configuration. It will lead to the retention of configuration provided the center, that is the neighboring group is attacking, is also attacked by the nucleophile. If the incoming nucleophile attacks another carbon like this sulfur compound, if it attacks here, then there will be inversion of configuration at this center. Now, the OH minus can attack this carbon or that carbon. So, if it attacks this carbon, then this bond will break, but the inversion will still be retained. So, in that case it is the inverted product that is obtained. On the other hand, if OH minus attacks at this carbon and breaks the carbon sulfur bond, then it is the retention of configuration. So, you have to be careful which center the nucleophile is attacking. Is it the same center as the internal nucleophile is attacking, or it is the other center, and depending on that whether inversion will take place or not, that will be decided. Okay. Now, this is one example of a cyclohexane system where this type of anchimeric assistance can take place. This is sodium acetate. This is a reaction of so you start with cyclohexane 1,2-diol trans, and one of the oxygen is protected as the acetate and the other is converted to a brosyl group. Okay. To a brosyl. Okay. Ortho, that is para-bromo sulfonyl, that is the brosyl group, and then sodium acetate. Now, in theory sodium acetate should approach from the top side and do an SN2 reaction to force this to go out, and the acetate should have been beta, but you see the product is here, the acetate retains its configuration whatever was there, and this acetate also retains the same configuration as the brosylate had. Okay. So, it is also now alpha, and the mechanism of this is I can write it down. The mechanism is given here. See, you have to if you write in this the cyclohexane form. So, what happens here, this is the beta O CO CH3 and this was the alpha, that is the brosyl group. So, initially this is what is going to happen. So, this attacks as an internal nucleophile. So, that comes from the top side, and if it comes from the top side, so there will be an intermediate which will be, so this will be also beta because it is from the opposite side, the back side it should attack, and there will be a CH3 and this is plus. Now, this will be a resonance hybrid of these two, Now, what happens, the acetate which comes, the OAC minus, that will come from the back side and this opens up like this. So, you get the retention of acetate here and this OAC comes from the alpha side. Okay. So, that is the mechanism of the reaction. You can also think of that because there is no distinction between these two oxygens here. If you write the other resonance structure, so you have O, then C, then here it is the O plus, this is CH3. Now, if the acetate attacks the other carbon, because there is no distinction between these two carbons, so it can attack here, that goes there, that go there. Okay. Remember, this is beta. So, now you have the same situation, OAC and OAC, they are trans to each other. Since this is C2 symmetric molecule, these two molecules are same. Okay. So, it is not that it is attacking only the carbon where the brosyl group is there, it can also attack the other carbon, and this is the mechanism. So, basically it is a anchimeric assistant from the acetate first to kick out the brosite. So, that is one inversion, and then it decides to attack from the back side. So, that is the further inversion. So, that gives it a retention. Okay. So, ultimately the result is that the two acetate groups are trans to each other, okay, 100% trans. Okay. Another example is this amino acid. You know, amino acids, the primary amines can be converted to the diazo, and then that can be replaced by OH. Okay. So, if you take a primary amine and if you treat with HNO2, so one of the product is ROH. Now, in this case, if you do the same reaction with an amino acid, so basically you can think of that this is becoming OH, and this carboxy and OH now form a lactone. So, the product is a gamma lactone. Okay. So, basically the reaction is virtually the same. This is replaced by OH, but since this is hydroxy and acid and carboxylic acid are together and this is an acidic medium. So, there will be acid catalyzed esterification. You can think in that fashion. Okay. Actually, the mechanism is not like that, that this is just replaced by OH coming from the back side. OH means OH from water. Okay. Because if you look at the configuration, this is S and the product that is also S, that means there is retention of configuration. That means this oxygen has not come from the water from the back side, because then it would have been R. So, it is coming from the obviously this oxygen is taking the place of the nitrogen. So, what is the mechanism of this reaction, that is given here. So, first there is this, that means here it is retention of configuration, although there is SN2 attack. If the OH attacks in an SN2 fashion and directly kicks out the NH2, then it would have been you have to rotate it. So, and then change the then oxygen will come, I can show it here in the board, then the carboxy oxygen should come. So, there are two possibilities. So, one is that you have this is, by the way, is an amino acid called glutamic acid. So, you have NH2, on this side, okay, and then you have carboxy, the beta carboxy, and you have alpha hydrogen. Now, there are two possibilities. First of all, if HNO2 comes, so that will be converted to the diazo. The amine will first convert it to the diazo. Now, remember, this is S configuration. Okay. So, this is CO2H, that is H. Now, if this has to kick out this nitrogen, this is the leaving group, the N2 plus. So, this has to rotate, and then oxygen will attack and the nitrogen will go out. But if that happens, then this will be converted to the R configuration, because you are already rotating it, and then the oxygen comes, and so if you rotate, the carboxy will go to the back position and the hydrogen will come to the front position. So, that will create an R configuration. However, the configuration still remains S. So, what happens? There is neighboring group participation. Now, you come back to the slide, there is neighboring group participation. This oxygen, the carboxy, is very similar to that alpha bromopropionate case. Now, this oxygen acts as a nucleophile and attacks this carbon, and the nitrogen goes off. So, that forms an alpha lactone. In this case, you can write OH plus, because it is not the basic medium, it is acidic medium. So, the plus charge is still on the oxygen, and then the lactonization, this is alpha lactone replaced by a gamma lactone, because that is more stable. So, this is lost, and that acts as a nucleophile, attacks the carbon, and this carbon oxygen bond is broken. So, if that is the case, then you get what is called the same what was the amine occupying the position. Now, this oxygen occupying the same position as the amine. So, this goes to the S configuration. So, in between it has been converted into the R configuration, because now this oxygen has replaced, in the intermediate, the oxygen has done an SN2 attack onto the azide, okay, onto the diazo, and that forms alpha lactone, but the configuration has changed in that attack, because now the highest priority group is here on the right side, here the highest priority group is on the left side. Okay. So, there is a change in configuration R, and that goes to S. Okay. So, these are some of the examples of that intramolecular reactions, intramolecular cases where there is neighboring group participation. Okay. Now, let us come to the stereoelectronic requirement for E2 elimination. Okay. Now, in E2 elimination, what happens? E2 elimination is that if it is a elimination involving, say, dehydrohalogenation. So, you have system like this. Okay. C2 elimination is the base takes the hydrogen. If it is dehydrohalogenation, then this is the mechanism. Now, what is the stereoelectronic requirement for this process? That is what we are considering now. Now, there are two possible ways you can write this, that either it could be a syn type system orientation, or it could be an anti type orientation between the CX and the CH, that means the two leaving groups, because here hydrogen is lost, X is lost. So, the two leaving groups can be anti to each other, or they could be syn to each other, and but the most important thing is that they should be periplanar, means this plane, the plane containing these bonds and the plane containing this hydrogen. Actually, I should make it only single, and this is the beta bond. Okay. So, this CH and this CX should be periplanar. So, also this CH and CX has to be periplanar, because if they are not periplanar, then what happens? There will be problem with overlap of the p orbitals that are being generated here, because ultimately there is a double bond. So, p orbitals are generated. If they are not in the same plane, then there cannot be overlap between them. So, for efficient overlap they have to be syn. Okay. Now, let us show this. The bonds to be eliminated, or the eliminated groups H and X must be in the same plane, that is number 1. Now, same plane means two types. One is this eclipsed conformation, H and X are syn to each other, or other could be the anti-periplanar. So, one could be syn periplanar, that means syn configuration as well as periplanar, and the other could be anti-periplanar. H and X are in the same planar system, but they are now anti, a staggered conformation. So, these two are possibilities. So, what happens in elimination? The normal process involves the anti-elimination is favored over the syn elimination. There are cases where syn elimination takes place, but that is through a different kind of mechanism. When 6-member transition states are involved, then it could be a syn elimination, but otherwise if there is disjointed, that a base comes and attacks, takes up the hydrogen and the X leaves, then it is always the anti type of elimination that takes place. Okay. Now, the reason for anti elimination is that there could be several reasons. One is, this is the syn elimination and there is the front side attack, that means the base is coming from the same side as both the groups, the same side of the groups that are being eliminated. So, H and X are facing the same side and the base is coming from the same side. So, you can expect repulsion, because base is after all a negatively charged system. It could be a nucleophile, it could be an anionic species, or it could be a species containing lone pair of electrons. Okay, we are talking about Lewis base, and then there will be repulsion with the, because as X is coming out as X minus, so there will be repulsion to the approach of the base. So that may disfavor this front side attack or the syn elimination. On the other hand, in anti elimination you do not face that problem, because the X is on the other side, on the anti side. Okay, so that is one aspect. Anti elimination avoids repulsion of the electron rich base with the leaving group, that means the X. And the other more important thing is that anti elimination, the best overlap of the interacting orbitals is achieved through backside attack. The best overlap is achieved through backside attack. Actually, what happens, you can think in this way, that when this H is lost, so basically you are generating an anion here, and the antibonding orbital of this CX is empty on this side, and this anion can overlap, means this anion means this is occupying another, when the hydrogen is lost. So, this is occupying a semi p orbital. So, there will be a very good overlap between the antibonding orbital of this and the anion that is being created. So, that will stabilize the whole system. So, that is why it is coming from the back side. If it comes from the front side, then the antibonding orbital portion will be on this side, whereas the anion is created in the front side. So, this will be back side, that will be on the front side. So, there will not be efficient overlap if it happens in the syn direction. I hope this is clear. This is very similar to your SN2. That is, in SN2 the backside attacks takes place because the backside has antibonding empty orbital, and this is the nucleophile. So, the nucleophile orbital now that is filled up with electrons. So, that can efficiently overlap with the sigma star. So, it is very similar. Now, instead of the nucleophile you have a negative charge, and the negative is placed on the front side, front means upside, and here the upside you have the antibonding orbital. So, there will be efficient overlap between these two. In this case it is not possible. So, now we know that in E2 elimination, so we are convinced that E2 elimination is mostly taking place when the two groups are anti-periplanar. So, the stereoelectronic requirement for E2 elimination is that the groups which are departing should be anti-periplanar. Okay. So, that is the important fact. Now, let us take few cases. I think I discussed about this. There are this is actually CH3, CHBr, then you have CH2, then CH2, CH3. So, CH3, you have what? You have CH3, then CHBr, then CH2, then CH2, then CH3. So, if it undergoes elimination, so there are two types of elimination possible, but let us consider the Sergev elimination, that is the more substituted double bond. So, these hydrogens, one of these two hydrogens will be eliminated, but while doing so you are creating a cis and trans double bond. Okay. Now, in order to form the, first of all, to eliminate, the hydrogen and bromine should be anti to each other. So, in one conformation you have done the hydrogen bromine anti, and while doing so you have put the methyl and the ethyl group, methyl and the ethyl group. So, this is the methyl and this is the ethyl, the methyl and the ethyl group, the methyl and the ethyl group anti to each other, the methyl, okay. Now, this but you can draw another conformation in which the hydrogen and bromine are again in the anti position by doing a 120-degree rotation. So, if you do a 120-degree rotation, methyl will come here, this hydrogen will come here and this hydrogen will go there, but still you have an anti periplanar relationship. Okay. But out of these we know that this is the higher energy conformer, as there is the steric repulsion between this ethyl and the methyl, which is not present here. So, this will be the favored conformer, and then when the elimination takes place, there will be the methyl will eclipse this hydrogen and this hydrogen will be eclipsed by this ethyl. So, that is also less energetic than methyl ethyl eclipsing. So, in that case this will have a lower activation energy, and this will be the major product that is obtained. Okay. So, here the more, that means this is the here although this is the more populated conformer, and the most populated conformer also giving the more stable product, or they also reacting in a faster rate and resulting in a more stable product via a transition state which is more stable than the transition state which is involved in this elimination from this conformation. Here there will be tremendous methyl ethyl eclipsing interactions as the elimination is taking place. Okay. So, this is how you convince yourself that why this is the major product formed in the elimination of this compound. This is 2-bromopentane. Okay. So, that is written here, the alkene with the bulkiest group on opposite sides of the double bond will be formed in greater yield because it is the more stable alkene, but actually stability is not the matter. I think that is one aspect, but the more important aspect is that this is during in the transition state less repulsion, because two large groups eclipsing each other is considered to be having a much more interaction, steric interaction, than the interaction between a small hydrogen and an alkyl group. Although there are two such interactions are there, but the combined interaction between methyl and hydrogen and ethyl and hydrogen is less than the combined eclipsing interaction, than the eclipsing interaction of methyl and ethyl. Okay. So, ultimately this is the product that is obtained. Now, in case of cyclohexane, if it is not an acyclic system, in acyclic system what you do? You draw the Newman projection and ultimately draw a conformation where the leaving groups are anti to each other, anti periplanar to each other. Okay. In case of cyclohexane, if you have hydrogen, if you are doing a dihydro halogenation, then the hydrogen and X are have to be eliminated from vicinal positions, and then what happens? The hydrogen and X should be anti periplanar in order to undergo the elimination, but that makes it tells you that both the hydrogen and the X have to be axial. Okay. One is beta axial, the other is alpha axial, okay, or vice versa. So, they have to be trans diaxial, that is what is said, that the leaving group and both the leaving groups have to be have to have a trans diaxial relationship. Okay. Now, let us see whether there is any more problem here. Okay, we will do some problem here. Suppose we want to eliminate this chloro cyclohexane. So, in the equatorial form there will be no reaction, because you do not have so you want to do the dehydrohalogenation. So, this is alcoholic potassium hydroxide, okay. And then in alcoholic potassium hydroxide, you know, elimination takes place, but there will be no A2 elimination, because in this conformation, because there will be you do not have a you do not have any hydrogen which is anti to the chlorine, okay, because the chlorine is not in an axial position. On the other hand, if you do so if you do a forcing condition, if you heat it, so this will now be converted to the axial conformer. So, we have seen that the stereoelectronic requirements of E2 elimination. In what we have said in the last slide is that in a cyclohexane system, the groups that are being eliminated, if it is dehydrohalogenation, then that has to be in the diaxial position, that makes it anti-periplanar, okay. And suppose you take the chlorobenzene, which will normally exist in the equatorial position. If you want to do the dehydrohalogenation, say with alcoholic KOH, it requires forcing condition to get into the cyclohexene. Why forcing condition? Because in this equatorial position there is no hydrogen which is anti to this chlorine. The anti bond that is present is the CC bonds, okay. But here the hydrogen has to be lost. So, hydrogen has to be anti. The other way you can say the chlorine is occupying equatorial position. So, there cannot be any anti-hydrogen, okay. It has to be in diaxial, it has to be in the axial position. So, there is, if you force it, so then this conformation can flip and chlorine can go into the axial position, but that requires little bit of energy, and then so in under forcing condition you get this diaxial arrangement. In fact, you have two hydrogens which are diaxial to this chlorine, okay. So, that is, these are the important issues that you have to consider while considering the elimination of cyclohexane system. Again I repeat, in case of acyclic system you have to consider the best is consider a Newman projection, and your hydrogen and X have to be like this, and in the cyclohexane system your H and X should be occupying this type of diaxial orientation, okay. So, next we will work on the again some problem solving session, what happens in cyclohexane system, mainly focusing on cyclohexane system about SN1, SN2 and SN2 prime, those type of reactions that were, and then we will take some cyclohexanes to do the elimination reactions. That means, we will talk about conformation and reactivity in cyclohexane systems with respect to substitution and elimination reaction. That will be in the next lecture. Thank you.